Marty, Mario here, guys. I wanted to make a serious video here. Going back to my PTSD combat veteran series, I'm going to talk about the some of the signs that I think a lot of you guys need to look out for if somebody is suicidal or in the midst of thinking about doing it. Um, this is really to help a lot of the service members' families and significant others to kind of watch out for these type of symptoms and some of the things that we have a tendency of doing. Now, I for one have been close to committing suicide. I'm not going to lie to you, uh, but some of the things that have kept me grounded is my family. Um, it has been tough. It continues to be tough. It's an everyday struggle for me. But I tend to ground myself when I see my kids, see pictures of my family. And these are some of the things that I would want you guys to start looking at and making sure that there's pictures for them to see because it really does create a reflection of what needs to be uh, really important in life. And those are some of the things that I would definitely suggest a lot of you guys to do. The biggest thing is just be there for them. And there's times where they're going to tell you that you're annoying the hell out of them and whatever the case may be, but just be there for them because in reality, when they get to the stage of their thinking, it's usually not a good outcome. So um, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences and some of the stuff that I went through, and I'm hoping that this will definitely help somebody. So the first one for me was the lack of living. I had a tendency of thinking about life without me, how my kids, how my family was gonna be able to survive, and in many ways you'll notice that they'll start doing certain things where they're fixing their life insurance or they're thinking about other factors that doesn't include them in the picture. Now this could be a lot of things, guys. You know, from changing your will, changing your trust, power of attorneys, all that kind of stuff. Because many soldiers or service members have a tendency of being able to access a JAG officer, and for many of us, it's pretty much free of charge. We have a tendency of doing these kind of changes, and people don't really stop and think about that. But in reality, if you start noticing that they're starting to do stuff like that, you might want to seriously ask the reason why they're doing what they're doing. And in reality, what they're doing is they're preparing themselves for their death and making sure that you guys are taken care of. Now, it doesn't always happen that way. There's times where a service member may be too destroyed on the inside for them to even do anything like that. But for the most of the conscience service members will do something like that. So just kind of keep a lookout for stuff like that. If you see them giving away their stuff, prized possessions, if you see me giving away my guns and my knives, you better watch out. You better start asking me questions to why I'm giving away stuff that I shouldn't be giving away. Stuff that they prize a lot. It could be anything. It could be guns or knives or a favorite stamp collection that they got from their dad, something like that. Something that for a fact that money is not an object kind of thing, and that is valuable to that person. And then all of a sudden they're starting to give away stuff. Those are sometimes signs that something might be going on in their head. Um, Anger. If you notice that they're always angry and they're always, and every time you ask them what's wrong with you, they can never give you an answer. Usually it's a one-word answer like nothing or I'm fine or leave me alone. These are things that have a tendency of being uh, some of the signs that something's really going on, guys. And um, in many ways, with a lot of this anger that they usually show, it shows their lack of being able to communicate, able to to do what they need to do in order for them to survive, or they just have a different mentality, how they thinking, that you are not really understanding, or maybe don't even comprehend what they're going through, or comprehend their thinking or their actions. And of course, there are times where a lot of them are not really going to tell you what's wrong, because in reality, many of them are ashamed to talk about it. Let's face it, guys, war is hell. And there's times where some of us had to do some things that you obviously don't ever want to talk about. Some of these things affect you because it was immoral, or in many ways, it was like you against that other person kind of mentality. So it has a tendency of bothering you. Maybe you have what we call survivor's guilt, where you saw a good buddy of yours that died right in front of you, or you wish you could have prevented something in order for them not to be killed. These are all factors that play a lot into play. Um, Other things that you'll notice is that different, and I think I talked about this in a previous video, and those are dates. You know, Dates of certain events have a tendency of really hurting a service member. For example, I had a good friend of mine that passed, I think it was May 25th, and yeah, May 25th, and that's about the same time as Memorial Day. So it has a tendency of being a double-edged sword for me. And I can remember that for the longest, it was really hard for me. Like Memorial Day, the whole month of May was just horrible for me, and I had a tendency of always being in mourning and being down, and not being myself. So those are just little factors that I think a lot of you guys really need to start looking into. Um, Now, I think a lot of you guys want to ask yourselves, how can we help? How can if we started to see our loved one, somebody that really needs our help right away, how do we get them the help that they need? There's a crisis line for veterans, and I would add that link and the number to this video. There's also a military one source. A military one source, especially if those soldiers are currently in the military. These guys can call. It's an 800 number. They can call, and obviously also their service members' family can call. And it's open 24 hours a day, and it could be from anything. They're able to help you guys out, but they'll definitely get you the help that you need, especially if it's something that's really critical. They usually have crisis counselors 24 hours a day on the phone. That if for some reason service members trying to take their life, they could talk to somebody and not feel like they need to uh, that they're all alone. Because that's the biggest thing for a lot of us. We feel that we're all alone, and that many people don't understand what we're going through. So and that's usually the biggest factor into a lot of these suicides. Another great asset that you think you guys really need to start looking into, and that is the vet center, and also the VA hospitals if you happen to have one in your town. But the great thing about the vet center has a tendency of being a small clinic, and this is all transition counseling for a lot of these service members that are coming from Afghanistan, Iraq, or if they've been in previous wars like Vietnam and all that kind of stuff. Um, there's a lot of us that really need that help, and I like the vet center because most of the counselors at the vet center are veterans. I would say 80 to 85% of them are combat veterans, which is even better because they could definitely tell you and relate with you as to what you're going through, and they can feel more at ease. They're not having to put a different type of face for somebody else who's a civilian. So when you're able to talk to another fellow veteran and they know exactly what you've been through, what you're feeling, it makes it even more at ease for them, and they can open up even further and help their cause. I urge all of you guys to start looking into different aspects of how we can get help for our veterans. There's a lot of great local organizations within your towns that I can guarantee you are doing something about it. In reality, the VA cannot handle a lot of these suicides or a lot of the psychological help that a lot of our veterans need. So a lot of other veteran organizations have stepped in and tried to help as much as we can. And we're starting to see that, and there's a lot of great organizations out there. Um, so in reality, guys, in conclusion, really, you need to understand that whenever a service member is getting ready to do something, they usually have a tendency of planning it. And if they plan it, they have a tendency of doing something that's a more prolonged thing where it's going to take care of their family. And that usually happens. Those are the things that I've seen. But of course, guys, there's also times where other veterans reach out to you, and if you're not there for them, uh, you have a tendency of feeling that survivor's guilt because I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of a story of mine. I had a first sergeant who I was not really good friends with, and what was really weird about it is that he wasn't even part of my unit. He was part of um, the detachment or the support unit, and he handled a lot of the maintenance issues for our vehicles and stuff like that. He was kind of like a motor sergeant. And to make a long story short, there was times where he would contact me, and there's times where I was getting annoyed because he would call me like right at 7 o'clock in the morning, like on the dot, and it seemed to me like he wanted to reach out to somebody and ask, and see how he can talk to somebody. Well, to make a long story short, guys, one time I didn't pick up the phone. I just didn't feel like talking to him. And 2 days later, they found him, and he had committed suicide. The problem that happened is that him and his wife are going through a divorce. He found out that she was cheating on him, and it was really hard for him to grasp what was going on. And apparently, he drove up to his house, or soon to be ex-wife's house, parked in front of the house. Was drinking and pulled a gun and shot himself. And to this day, I still think about him, and I still think about that call that I missed that could have probably saved his life. So if that ever happens to you, if you ever see a veteran reaching out for you, please pick up that phone because you could save a life. Now, I hope that you guys get something out of this video. In reality, I'm making this because I'm tired of seeing these statistics about our fellow veterans dying, and we need to do something about it. For all you guys that don't know, I have friends of mine that are doing the Justin's Final Mission. I'll put a link to that fundraiser that we're doing. And what we're doing is we're trying to raise enough funds for a veteran to go to a Save a Warrior camp, um, free of charge, of course, and that could definitely help them, recover or transition back into the civilian world, which has become very, very hard, guys. And I urge all of you guys to, if you can, please donate to this cause because it's a great cause. Um, it's called Justin Final Mission because it's named after Army Major who died, who was one of the founders of this organization, the Save a Warrior. And he donated, I think he donated some land as part of the camp and all that good stuff. And he wanted to see his brothers and sisters survive and not commit suicide and find alternative ways for you guys to be able to recover and transition back into the civilian world. Unfortunately, this great man died. He died of cancer, but his legacy lives on. And if you guys would please, if you guys could spare a little bit of money, please give to this cause. It's definitely a great cause. Um, and it's something that you could definitely, help somebody's life. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Like always, God bless you. God bless the United States of America, and I'm out.